Hello and welcome to another episode of Career Strategies. My name is Rodney Hughes, Mr. 100%. And in today's video, what we're going to talk about is you can't afford to be cheap. Okay. It never ceases to amaze me, how people will spend money frivolously, when it comes to things that don't even add value to their lives. You know, how they'll buy shoes, they'll buy cars, they'll buy all these things. But when it comes time to invest in you, okay, and when it comes time to invest in your career, man, people don't want to part ways with that money. And so what I want you to understand is that you can't afford to be cheap when it comes to your career. Okay. Today's video is being brought to you by Interview Prep University. It's a free virtual training platform, and it's designed to teach you everything you need to know about maneuvering through the job interview process. You're going to learn specific strategies, techniques, and ideas that you will be able to leverage and use to exponentially improve your job interview skills. It's a 100% free resource, and all you have to do to get access to it is go to www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Again, that's www.interviewprepuniversity.com, or you could just click the link in the description area below. Okay. So again, you can't afford to be cheap. Okay. I can't emphasize this enough. I believe it was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said, the way you do anything is the way you do all things. Okay. And so a lot of times, people, especially like people who are in general cheap, just in their day-to-day life. A lot of times they will try to take the cheap route when it comes to their career. And, but even if you're not cheap in your day-to-day life, even if you like to spend frivolously, in your, day-to-day life, it never ceases to amaze me how much people try to find shortcuts and try not to invest in themselves, when it comes to their career. And so what I want to tell you is that you can't afford to be cheap again when it comes to your career. And so the thing is like, well, let's put it, let me frame it from this perspective. Okay. If your core desire is upward mobility, then you can't afford to be cheap. Okay. With your career. But if you're one of these lucky few out here where you're working in a job that you absolutely love and you wouldn't want to change anything about what you're doing, you don't have any desires or ambitions for upward mobility, then you're good. I mean, you're in a golden situation, right? But unfortunately, I would guess that the overwhelming majority of people that are going to listen to this video aren't necessarily happy with where they are in their career. I mean, they may be satisfied. They may not necessarily be trying to jump ship wholeheartedly at this point, but for sure, they're interested in upward mobility if they're looking at this particular video. And so if that's you, then the thing I want you to understand, again, I'm going to drill it in. You can't afford to be cheap when it comes to your career. So what do I mean when I say cheap, right? If there are certifications that you need to get in order to improve your situation, you need to bite the bullet, invest the money, and get those certifications. If you need to go back to college in order to get a degree, like if you're in a particular field where having a certain type of degree will actually directly lead to you making more money and being able to be in a position to have a broader impact in your particular space, then you need to go back to school and you need to get that degree. You need to spend the money. You need to invest in that area, right? The other thing. So with me, I'm an interview strategist, and sometimes some of the strategies that I teach people involve them having to spend money. Okay. And, the thing I always tell them is, look, it's never a bad investment when you're investing in yourself. Okay. Don't go cheap when it comes to your career. Right. So just to put this in more perspective, when it comes to like going through the interview process, for me, typically whenever I get in that mode of wanting to interview again, I typically go and spend money on getting a brand new suit. Okay. And I try to get a brand new conservative suit. Okay. Because I know that first impressions are lasting impressions. Right. There have been times when I've spent money that I did not have in order to get a suit, in order to put my best foot forward. Okay. And at that time, I may not have had the money, but it was well worth the investment, because when I walked through the door, I improved my odds just based on how I looked. Right. If you're not that great at writing, right, and you come across a person like me, or you come across some other person who, writes resumes for a living, don't go cheap. You understand? If they're charging $250, I mean, put this in perspective, whether it's $250, $500, whatever it may be. Think about it like this. If someone like myself gets your resume, every single day I have to work with companies and help the candidates that I represent position their resumes so that they could actually have a shot at getting the job that they want, right? And so let's say that you're making $50,000 right now as a base salary, and you don't have a bonus, and but you do have benefits. And let's say that the job you're interested in would immediately bump you up to $80,000 as a base salary, plus a bonus, plus benefits. Well, this is the thing you got to keep the long game in mind. This is why being cheap is not a good thing, because it works against you in the long run, right? If I had to pay somebody $250 or $500 to get my resume where it needed to be in order for me to legitimately have a shot at a $80,000 base salary opportunity, then that means just off my base salary alone, if I get the job, right? If I end up getting the job, then, I just made 30 grand more annually, every single year. Okay. And that's huge, right? But you got some people that in that exact scenario wouldn't spend the money in order to improve their situation. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to move forward in your career, don't go the cheap route, right? Don't try to figure things out necessarily on your own if you don't have to. Okay. It's like this picture right here, right? like, dude, I would never, do you see the level of detail in the picture that this guy is holding? Now, when I look at this picture, all I can imagine is that this guy doing the tattoo said, "Man, don't worry about it, man. I got you. For $10, I'll do something real similar to this picture right here." Right? And then he ended up with this horrible tattoo. Okay. Now listen, this is a joke. I'm pretty sure this is a joke as far as this picture is concerned, but it's not a joke when it comes to your career. Okay. It's never a bad investment when it comes to your career. I'll give you a real life scenario. Okay. A real life story that happened. So, my wife, when she was transitioning, she was kind of forced into a transition state, cause the company she was working for ended up, closing the office, local to us, and, relocating to another state. And, because my wife was the number one, person in her team at doing what it was she did, they offered her an opportunity to keep her job, but she would have to obviously move to this other state. Well, that wasn't an option for me or her at that time. And neither did we even want to go down that path. So essentially, she had to get out. They forced her to get out into the job market and find another opportunity. Okay. And so because my wife knows that I'm an interview strategist and I've helped people and I know what I'm doing when it comes to this process, at a certain point in her job search, she said she started listening to me as far as, me giving her a few pointers on what to do. And so she ended up interviewing for this particular company. And when she left the interview, I gave her a piece of advice as far as, and pretty much what I told her is I wanted her to send a thank you letter to the hiring manager that she ended up doing the interview with. But I wanted her to pretty much spend additional money to make sure that that hiring manager had to sign off for that mail. Okay. And I think she may have had to spend like, I don't know, maybe $30, $40 or something like that for one piece of mail. And my wife, you know, she typically is much better with money than I am. Okay. And she ended up, she gave me a little, you know, at first she was like, man, really? Do I need to do that? Right. And so I convinced her that, yes, this is what you need to do. So she did it. Well, she ended up not getting the job that she actually interviewed for that time. But as fate would have it, she ended up, another opportunity came up like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. And she ended up, it was with the same company. She ended up being called in for an interview. And when she went in for the interview, she didn't even have to really answer any interview questions. Okay. Because they already knew that they wanted to hire her. Okay. And if essentially what ended up happening is that she ended up getting this job. Right. And like a year later after that, the person that she sent that mail to, okay, ended up still having that piece of mail. Okay. And she held on to it because nobody had ever done that before. Right. And so what I want you to understand here is that my wife could have took the cheap way. Okay. She could have not even sent a thank you letter. Right. Because think about it. You know, if your goal is to be cheap, you definitely aren't going to spend any money to send direct mail. Right. But when she sent that direct mail, it separated her from all her competition. Right. And a year after she had already started and been working the job, that person still held on to that letter. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make here is don't be cheap when it comes to your career. Okay. Any money that you spend that is directly related to your advancement in your career is a great investment. Okay. Even if you don't get that money back in the short term, you typically will always get that money back in the long term. Okay. So again, don't be cheap. All right. Now listen, I hope you got great value from this video. If you did, like this video, comment on this video, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already. And make sure you hit that little bell so that whenever I drop new content, you'll be made aware of it. Okay. Listen, thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.